Welcome back to Steam-Powered Scoundrels, a Malifaux podcast. Episode 73, Strong Like Ironsides. See, alright, okay. It jumps from one to recording a bit too fast for my take. What's everyone drinking? Because now I'm Jesse.
I'm drinking water. It's an exotic beverage. You may have heard of it.
I am also drinking that same exotic beverage. Though the person who sold it to me told me it was pronounced water.
Oh, I fucked up.
Oh.
I think that's the French version.
I could see it.
It comes from the Low province in France. I'm drinking Viking blood, so fuck y'all.
Nice.
I'm not drinking water because my state's water gives people cancer. I filter mine for the most part.
We have good water here. I still filter it, so.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice. But yeah, no, we bought binge drinking beer for Good Things Happen, and we didn't use nearly as much as I thought we were going to. So I'm just kind of going through that. But this is my idea of binge drinking beer. Still a German lager. Yeah, you're never gonna catch me drinking domestics unless I absolutely have to. It's not because I'm a prude, it's because they taste like ass. Okay.
One of my friends was in a military base.
What's up?
One of my friends was in a military base in Oklahoma for his tactical training for the Navy. And there's a little pub outside the base. And he's from New England, so he goes to the base, goes to the little pub, and he's like, "Can I get a Sam Adams?" The guy says, "We don't do imports."
Well done.
Miller Coors Bud. That's all they had. Full stop.
Oh, ew. I'm sorry. Did I insult you, Jeff? I'm sorry.
Beer. Fuck y'all.
I just disagree. There's a couple of local breweries around here that are quite good.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, like domestic as in your Buds, your Millers, your Coors.
No, those are all bad. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's what I meant by domestic. The cheap stuff that every gas station has.
I mean, around here, most gas stations have like Brooklyn Brewery, which is pretty good.
Yeah. I guess if most gas stations have 20 years ago, maybe that's better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Natty Ice.
Ugh.
I know. I've also got some really good local breweries that are available in most gas stations. Nothing compared to Spotted Cow. I wish I could get that, but
Spotted Cat.
Spotted Cow. Okay. Welcome back to Steam Powered Scoundrels. I am your host, Mr. Douglas Scoundrels Ironsides, hyphenated, of course. And with me are two Jeffs and a non-Jeff. First, Jeff, who has designated himself the Black One.
I'm representing the Ironside sides of things. There's more black representation for this show, so therefore I am here.
Yeah, I guess I'm not allowed to say anything about Ironsides without Jeff's go ahead. Other Jeff.
Hi, I'm other Jeff this time, I guess.
Yeah.
Also known as Jeff Dice.
Got to mix it up. Mr. Dice Defection.
The most defective of Jeffs.
God, I completely blanked on your fucking handle for a second. I'm sorry. Something involving dice, but what something's wrong? Wrong dice. No.
That's why we use cards around here.
Roman, who's just looking very mischievous right now. Hi, Roman.
Is it more mischievous than usual, or just kind of baseline mischievous?
You don't have Nate to bounce off of, so I feel like you're trying to channel a bit more Nate.
That's fair.
Yeah, right. Okay. So where
Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost?
I heard Ghost. The movie Ghost?
Yeah, like he's trying to channel Nate like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost.
Is Nate inside of you right now, Roman?
There's a little Nate inside all of us, I have to say.
Like Elvis. Okay, why are we here? Doug has ambition. No, he doesn't. He just likes doing creative stuff. And way back in September.
You remember?
Big Hat. When did the Big Hat changes drop?
Oh, someone around then.
In the fall, we got like a massive change to the Big Hat keyword, which was needed. Big Hat needed the help, but that led to us understanding that Wyrd is willing to change a large amount of cards all at once, which got me thinking, what would I do in this situation? Well, me being the very, very selfish little boy I am, I thought, what would I do if I got a chance to rewrite the M&SU keyword? So that's why we're here today, because I'm going to go over what I would do if I could run rampant over the keyword and probably ruin it for everyone else, but I got to be a little bit selfish every once in a while. But I will say that this is a creative exercise. I don't really think MNSU needs a rewrite. Changes would be nice, but they're fine. They're okay. I think they're in an okay competitive enough spot that this is not needed. This is me having fun. So don't anyone thinking I don't think Wyrd's doing their job.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, but I think especially Tony 1, she's definitely not comfortable or at her best in this Gaining Grounds season, but I do think she's still, there are certain pools that she'll work well in, and we never know what's going to happen with the next Gaining Ground. So
yeah, I mean, also the thing is that for the majority of masters in the game, if you take the time to master them, you can make them work. They won't necessarily be the most optimal choices in the pools, but like I can solo Tony 1 ringing and do a perfectly fine job. I'm then playing the people on the lower end of the tournament, but yeah, I can do fine with her. It's just less focused on scoring as soon as possible and more snapping someone's spine before moving on to actually scoring on a post, which she does pretty good. She does a pretty good job of. All right. Couple of my rules that I made up for myself when I was doing this. And admittedly, I didn't set these rules for myself and then start making up stuff. This was me making up stuff. And then one question realized there was a pattern to what I was doing I didn't really think about before. So first thing is I have touched every single model that is pre the knockout box. I will go ahead and start with the ones that I think are perfectly fine, and because I sort of set this up for myself, the changes I would do to them just to say I've made changes, which are mostly just like minor tweaks to make this model more of what I want it to be. Also, I do not do small changes, with the exception of one model, and that's just because I really couldn't think of anything. I tried to go for, again, what I want the model to do, why they aren't doing that, and what changes can I make to have them do that. And then, really, I think those are my two big rules. But that's also why I have a lot of changes as opposed to like adding one or two things here. Because I could do that. I could just give them a little boost here or there to make them maybe worth what they want, or just to fix a little bit of headache with them. But it's less fun. So I'm gonna go crazy because I can go crazy because it's my fucking podcast, and I will do
what. Question?
What's up?
Are you changing the prices on the models, or changes within the price range it's already in?
All but one I thought would be okay at the same price.
Okay, solid.
But like full disclosure, I'm not the best at making sure stuff is balanced. If I feel like they're close to where they should be, I would give them maybe some sort of negative aspect to them to balance out the nice stuff I've given to them. But only one of them has a drastic price change. But I'll also say that these are probably overtuned, but that's usually how alpha builds go.
Tony deserves to be overpowered, so.
Absolutely. Out of all anyone, the good guy of Malifaux needs to be the most powerful. But okay, so obviously the three people here are one to cheer me on and tell me how great of a job I did, but also they can voice their own ideas of way things should change or what I did wrong if they no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to be upset. I would like to hear what your thoughts are on the changes or what you would do to the model to change them to your liking, because none of this is actually happening. This is just a thought exercise. We're supposed to be having fun.
No crying.
No crying. All right. So yeah, well, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first three models that I genuinely wouldn't change if not for my own sort of ruling. Let's start with the Drudge. And this is Roman has bounced some of these ideas. I've bounced some of these ideas off Roman, actually most of them. But this is one he disagrees with, and again, this is more of what I want to see / have to change it, so how I'm going to change it. Drudges lose a wound. And that's because we are actually changing labor contract on Tony 2 and Anya to give them a single shielded when they are summoned. Well, more of the shielded is to compensate for the fact that now there are 2 wounds. And we don't want them dying to a stiff breeze, but I want them to be more fragile for 2 reasons. One, I'm going to boost them up to move 5, because I don't really see a reason why they should be move 4, outside of maybe balancing the fact that they can move ski markers. But also, the -1 wound also provides like the question of these things would now be more mobile. It's up to your opponent to take them down before they can affect the board negatively for them. So the challenge moves to that. But I also know that in Tony, they can be really fucking hard to kill, surprisingly, at 3 wounds, which I don't want to see. I don't want to see something I can so easily summon be so hard to bring down. Like, especially Tony, too. If they're in bubbles, they're armor 1 and hard to wound. Anyone that's on min 2 is going to take 3 attacks and chew through, and that doesn't feel good.
With positive twists on all your duels.
Yeah. Merely defense 4, willpower 3. You might force out a cheat, but they're going to hit you.
Yeah.
But also then you're burning cards out of their hand. It's too much for a model that only costs a card. The last thing is that Dependable now also works in reverse. If a ski marker in base contact with them is moved, they get moved along with it.
Ooh. Is that a may or a must?
Must might be fun. So this gives your opponent some more fuckery to mess with them. But
right.
Yeah, my original thought was there's a bit of ski marker movement in the keyword, and as I think there's a bit also in Syndicate, maybe. But the idea of like you being able to scoot them along with the marker, as well as them being able to scoot the marker, is nice and a little bit of synergy.
So I'm coming at this from the weird left corner of Outcast Syndicate play with these things. And I was also being angry with you a minute ago because, bringing them down to only 2 wounds because of the stuff that the other people can give them means hiring them, they suck. But that move scheme marker thing brings it back up because in Outcast there's a lot of move and scheme marker stuff, so that translates great, actually. So good on you for that one. Look, I'm praising you.
Hey, thank you, Jeff.
I didn't know that they made them that durable, actually, with Tony 2. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's because
Fitzsimmons.
Because of Fitzsimmons' solidarity, which says if they have to be at half, they can't use like the grit workaround with
I think you use the scheme workaround.
Yeah, the scheme workaround, so it only works in Tony 2. But if they're considered at half, they have hard to wound. That's not hard to wound. And they also have armor that's not armor, so you can't ignore either of those.
I think it's more relevant in Tony 2 anyway, because that's when you're going to have You're probably not hiring a drudge in Tony 1.
Yeah. And honestly, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say that the trade-off for me is, at least the way I tend to play them, is there might be one in the bubble in the middle, but like the other ones are, I'm using them as if I brought Tony 2, it's because I want to spread out more than if I'm playing Tony 1. So they are my mobile unionized bubbles for my side runners. So I don't tend to think of them as being in the Fitz bubble, but yeah, the Fitz bubble just makes everything painful. As it should.
Fitz.
Yeah.
We'll get the Fitz.
Also, I don't know if you've put this thought together with them. If you make that dependable a must, then one drudge walks and all of them get dragged behind him.
Okay.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. I was like, wait, that's too powerful. They are 2 wounds.
That might be too powerful, but it is pretty cool.
But they all have unionized too, so automatically keeps that unionized bubble going the whole time for as much self-saving that's going to do.
Which is something the crew tends to have an issue with, of whoever moves up first, if your opponent's savvy, they get their ass kicked before the unionized bubble friend follows them. Yeah. So I like that idea.
They move the part of the bubble over here immediately. Everyone else walks into that bubble.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting trade-off because I don't have a lot of Tony 2 games under my belt at this point, but I've noticed that when I've played, what my opponent tended to do is just ignore the drudges because they were easier to just leave there and kind of isolate and not worry about. And it meant I got points out of it, so it kind of worked out for me. But what ended up happening was they ended up being in positions where I didn't want them, and because they never got killed and resummoned, I just had to run them across the board, and they spent most of their AP just trying to catch up with everybody. So having an extra inch of movement and being a little more frail might be an interesting trade-off.
Yeah, like I actually do tell people, like, quick way to counter drudge summoning Tony is to ignore them. Like, if you can stop what their intention was to do, or if they've already done their intention, if they stay on the board, they can't be resummoned. And there's a lot of, like, summoning them in really inconvenient spots to speed bump your opponent, and if you already have 3 of them on the board. Okay, but we've got a lot of models to go through, so let's move on. Tony 2 is Another change that I don't really see as fair need, but might as well do things that I think she wants to do better / headaches. Sorry, my phone's going off. Now, this doesn't seem like it's that big of a change. It's beneficial, but I don't think it breaks anything. It just saves me a lot of headache, and that stand together is now 2 inches as opposed to 1. And that's the thing where, like, if you're within an inch of a ski marker, you're effectively half wounds.
Yeah, I like that, honestly. One of the things that the crew, in my experience, has the hardest time with is staying in their bubbles of this needs to work to be here. And unionized is at 3 inches. It works. Right. It's not a problem, but it is something you have to be very aware of. The 1 inch for this is it gets a little cramped sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just more of a, like, it's a benefit, but also it's a lot less finagling centimeters and millimeters to make sure stuff is in, and you have to spend less time declaring intent and doing little tiny measurements.
Yep, makes the game flow better.
Yeah, and you're also, just from a practical perspective, because the crew wants to be in a bubble anyway, you end up in this position where you're, like, trying to move models out of the way so you can put the ski marker where you need it and, like, all that kind of stuff. And having a little bit extra leeway there would make it a little easier to just say, okay, well, this is fine. I don't need to pick up 4 models to place it where I want it.
Also,
would there
like,
be a problem making it 3 inches to match unionized? Is that too broken?
I think that covers too much space. Like, I want it to be there to avoid headache. I don't want it to be, like, a solid super duper advantage. Like, I wouldn't say no to it, obviously, but I don't want to.
How many models have grit?
How many MNSU models have grit? Anyone that isn't a named character. Well, no. Howard also has it. Captain also. Never mind.
Most of them have it because the minions have it too.
But
Tony, and Amina are the ones that don't have it.
I don't think Fitz has one either.
Right, he doesn't have anything.
No, but
that guy.
But there's also a handful of abilities that require you to be at half health, and like in Tony 2, those get triggered by this. It's not just the grit. Tony gets a card draw on one of her abilities. Amina gets a card draw on one of her abilities if you're at half health. There's something else too, I think.
So it's more than just grit.
Yep. Okay. A few things.
Okay, probably want to go with 2 then.
The one thing that sort of, there's a couple things to dial her back. 1, -1 willpower. She doesn't feel like she needs to be a 6'6", and it's a reflection of Tony 1, who's a 5'6", so 6'5", 5'6". Simplest, quick nerve-ish. Moving on, fun thing. Spark of Revolution goes to 4 inches instead of 2. That's the one where you push a ski marker and then put a ski marker next to that ski marker and remove the previous ski marker. It was only 2 inches, which just doesn't seem like a whole ton. Like, I get part of it is you can summon a Drudge who will eventually drag that marker elsewhere once he can activate in the next turn. And also there's a pretty tasty trigger that allows healing, but for a master, I feel like it needs to be further.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially it's only once per turn.
And it needs a 7 to go off.
Mm-hmm. After that...
Jeez, give that some more.
I wanted Tony to be solidly the I am the minions version of... this version of Tony to be the I am the minions person of the 2 Tonys. And so possibly the most powerful thing is that Will of the Union is 1 MNSU minion plus models equal to the number of discarded adrenaline tokens. So effectively, you can always affect 1 model with your bonus action, but if you want to affect more and more powerful models, you need to spend adrenaline.
I like that, though. Like, there are other things, there's very few other things in the game that say you must spend a resource in addition to the card flip to even have this happen once. The one other one that comes to mind immediately is Cooper Jones in Tri-Chi. And she basically doesn't get taken because she needs scrap to make everything work, and she doesn't actually make it.
Well, she doesn't need to. You don't need to do a duel for this. It just happens.
I also was going to follow up with it. Actually has a TN now because I wanted to give it a trigger. Probably masks, I guess, has the most vibe to go with it. And the trigger is just called Unite! ! And it ignores line of sight.
Okay, I like that.
If that's still too strong, could possibly bump the range down slightly, but yeah, you can't give something a trigger if it doesn't have a TN, or get some sort of resist to it.
How high are you thinking?
I'd probably need like a
5 or 6?
4. It's more of
4,
a
okay.
yeah, just to like this could be ruined by the Black Joker, but otherwise, if you have a current hand, you're probably going to get it. Excuse me.
It seems reasonable, especially looking at like a lot of other masters that have their kind of specific thing. It's here's a 3 or 4 for especially the more recent ones.
Yeah, and then also I forgot the adding minion for free. The change is if you had to burn all of your adrenaline to save Ironsides, she doesn't have a bonus action anymore.
Fair.
Yeah, that kind of blows. It's only happened I think once to me, but still. Okay, yeah, that's it for my 22 changes. Actually, no, the most important one. I left the most important one out. Any guesses?
Give her your surname.
No.
You're
Absolutely
putting her in
not.
a prom dress.
It's about on that level, silly. No, the thing is I'm adding a question mark to whose side are you on?
Okay.
Which is, and doing research for this, I actually found it is like a legitimate union slogan.
Nice.
Neato. Okay.
I think if I was gonna make a change specifically to the bonus action, what I was thinking was adding a way to allow her to make the drudges interact. So going along with the whole give it a TN, maybe another trigger where one of the affected models can ignore their insignificant restriction.
Yeah.
I think that would be useful because I've had a couple of situations where the drudges were didn't have a ski marker near them, and again they spent a bunch of time running across the board to try to be relevant. But if she could do that with a low, rams or whatever it might be, that might be a cool way to get them back on the board.
This, just to even it out a little bit, we added TN, therefore it can be like a trigger. So either A, she can make sure she has the trigger for ignoring line of sight, or B, she can make drudges interact. But what if we just killed the drudge after that?
I'd take that.
Because technically, if you're letting them interact, they can just summon another one right next to themselves and then die.
It costs a card, though.
Yeah. It costs a
Trigger's
card.
called work to death.
Yeah.
Noble sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that from a thematic perspective, but
True.
But
that should be an Anya trigger, not a Tony trigger.
So, here's the thing. Drudges in Through the Breach are super duper hardy.
Yeah.
So the only reason they would have so few wounds and still be a drudge is, after they take a few damage, they're like, I'm going home. So that's my mental image of what happens. So, I'm done with this. Bye, guys.
So that's what you do. You call the trigger quitting time.
Yes.
Clock out.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay. And also think about it. If you have the kill trigger on it, that way you can recycle them if they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's a thought.
Well,
Okay.
and it's also interesting because then I think because of the way the timing would work on that, you wouldn't be able to summon it if you already had 3 out. So
you wouldn't be able to, but still, if they're in an odd spot, you don't want them to be.
Right.
That's how you collect them. They just won't be able to summon another drudge.
right. So, but also being able to take them off the table to then bring them out somewhere else on a later activation is also potential thing. Or use it, have the next model that does their action with this bonus action. If it's not an insignificant model, they can then summon a drudge over there. So you can kind of teleport them across the board. That'd be kind of cool.
Move on?
I
Bill?
disagree with the loss of willpower, though, because I'm trying to comprehend why she's hard to hit while pushing papers.
Well, I don't understand why Tony 1 has a higher willpower than her defense, as opposed to this one who is in a suit and probably hasn't been boxing quite as much as the previous one. So
Well, the first one I get because she wants to get hit.
Yeah.
she doesn't require to get hit to hit things back. That's the thing.
No, but I think
They can
thematically the
whiff.
idea is that she wants somebody to punch her because it kind of gets her going.
She's leaving herself open, and this was going to be the one thing I brought up too, is that loss of willpower thematically. I get what you're doing from a balancing perspective, and I like it from that perspective. From a thematic perspective, I want to push back on it just because it's she is the union leader at this point. She's the one who's got to be willful to kind of get everybody else riled up and keep everybody else controlled within the purview of the strike, essentially. So I don't see that being a loss of willpower where the use of Tony 1's willpower would be, I'm in the ring, I'm in the zone, I'm not caring that I just took a punch, I'm focused on what I'm doing. So I just see her as a high willpower person regardless, I think.
Okay. What would you like? Because I'm assuming she's fine as is, and that I needed to give her some changes, which are generally benefits. How would you nerf her then? Or you think like the TN on Will of the Union is good enough?
I think the TN is fine, honestly. She's still like low on wounds. She's still using the the adrenaline in a good number of ways. If anything, I think the fact that you're reducing the amount of adrenaline needed to make the bonus action happen, I think that means she can be a little more flexible in her crew builds. Because like right now when I run her, I'm like, I can't bring anything even versatile because I'm like, I need that adrenaline. I need it. Whereas now it's like, okay, I need like one less per turn. I can bring a versatile or two. I can be okay with that. But yeah, I think that still equates to she's playing around with the resources that her crew needs in ways that make it less finicky, which, yes, is technically a buff, but I don't think that equates in large ways to, like, getting over the power curve. And this is all, like, what it looks like on paper. Clearly, if we were actually doing this, we'd be, like, testing it and seeing if I'm entirely wrong about that, which is totally possible. But I don't think she specifically needs a straight-up nerf for the other changes you've made, which I like, because, again, they're essentially speeding up the game and making it less finicky. And they're all fluffy. I like it.
My concern about reducing her willpower or debuffing her or like reducing her defense or anything is that she is fairly tanky, but at 11 wounds and her primary thing being the damage reduction that she gets from various sources, if you have irreducible damage coming in, she falls in a heartbeat,
Yep.
especially if you lower her stats. So
Okay. That's fine. I realize I'm way too intense looking right now, and it kind of looks like I'm mad, so I'm actively trying to smile more. Like I'm really.
You and I
into
have
this.
the same face of I'm thinking really hard about this. I look like I'm about to punch you in the face.
Resting intensity face. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving on because there's a few more models in the keyword. I've got a couple pages left to go. Okay, gunsmith. This is my last change after all these other things involved. Right now, I think gunsmiths are too good and they're left alone because the rest of the keyword is slightly underpowered, or at least perceived to be slightly underpowered. So with everything else going in, the one nerf I would give to gunsmiths is their moderate damage goes down to 3.
235?
Sorry, what?
235?
Yeah.
Yeah, 235. Because at 245, even now, like, there's not a lot of incentive to use armor piercing. Because as long as it's like armor piercing at usually a negative flip is usually you're getting weak, which is 2. Versus puncture, which you're always at like a straight flip, you're usually averaging out to a moderate at least, which is 4, which is the exact same number.
if they have armor 1,
But
yeah.
if you're hitting something that's armor 2, if you're hitting something that's armor 1, it's just more damage. But again, we don't have to ponder over this a whole ton. This is just I need to change something, and also everything else is slightly better.
Yeah. As far as if they needed to be nerfed, yeah, that's not a bad one. I personally think at 8, like 8 seems to be that in the game, like where shit gets real good. So I don't think in without your rules they would need to be changed, but I like that change. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of it, really. I understand them picking up the resourceful suit from not just being at half health, but the other stuff that Tony puts out aura-wise.
What?
That's, the armor piercing suit, because the suit you get the suit from the resourceful, from the grid
Yeah.
resourceful, so that's going to be a common thing. Which I don't know. It seems fine to me at 245 with the custom firearm, because their whole thing is their gun's better than most,
Mhm.
so it should be better than most still.
You could argue the gun being better than most is because of all of them having 4 triggers
The
as
utility,
opposed to
yeah. Yeah,
That
I don't
makes-
hate the idea. I actually tend not to run gunsmiths because
Wow.
the opponents that I commonly play often have things that counter them pretty significantly. So I very very rarely actually take them. But I recognize that in the larger meta, they would be very.
Yeah, they're my crutch for punching above their weight class. They're great vendetta targets. I've had twice them kill a mature Nephilim in one activation.
Woo! Solid.
Nice.
One of my main opponents runs Ivan almost all the time, which means that
okay, then
she
never
will
mind.
have concealment. It's just not worth it.
Actually, they're not bad in melee combat.
Yeah, I guess they're not so bad because they have gunfighter, but for the stones,
You don't want them to be, but also they're my magical training carrier.
that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, moving on to stuff that I actually want to adjust and have pretty significant adjustments to. Mouse. Let's start with Mouse. Mouse. I'm being perfectly honest. I do not like his card. It's so completely different than his lore, and admittedly, the only thing we've seen him from is the original Tony story. But Spymaster, this card is not.
Absolutely.
So, and also, Mouse is target number one a lot of the times for my opponent because he's easily the squishiest thing, and he's significant.
And he's got a heal.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want him to be either enough to survive round 2 or be making himself worth the round and change he gets to be alive. So first up, we're going 6 willpower because he's a fucking Spymaster.
Yeah.
Move 5 because of the copycat killer who's also a dwarf is the correct term now. Yes?
Little
Dwarf.
people.
Little person, yeah.
Little person. If he can move 5, then Miles can move 5. It's pretty simple. We are completely removing his attack actions.
I've never used them, so that sounds good.
No rope lash, no toss the noose. I don't know if that kind of model exists in the game yet. I know there are some that have no tactical actions, but no attack actions is, I think, new. I could be wrong. But again, Spymaster. No, we're not changing his sculpt. Why does he still have rope on his sculpt, Doug? What are you going to do? He is getting climbing gear.
Nice.
Solid.
Because unpacking either Tony is a bit of a fucking pain. So at least turn 1, you don't have to worry about stumbling over your own shit. I mean, avoiding vertical terrain and stuff like that is also good, but it's mostly just trying to, I accidentally put this person in front when I wanted them to be back, and now I can't activate them when I want them to be. They just fucking ignore friendly bases. Thank you, Mouse. Let's see. Fight for the Union is now just 2 adrenaline. You're not breaking the game. I get some of the MSU feels like early 3rd edition didn't get streamlined kind of thing. Slightly more hoops than necessary. Just give out 2 adrenaline. He's gonna die most likely turn 2 or turn 3. What else? Let's see. Scout ahead. I like that. It's fairly recent ability, and that's just effectively making your opponent deploy a specific model first. And last thing, the Spymaster action. This might be a bit much. I'm going to give him overwhelming intricacy.
What does that do?
Was that?
That's on J5, I believe.
Yeah.
Let me read that off real quick. Models within range, this is a 6-inch pulse, must each pass a target number 12 willpower duel for each model that failed this duel. This model may push that model up to 2 inches in any direction or have it gain distracted +1. This is mostly just to move his own shit. The fact that he's size 1 means that it's going to be hard to hit a whole bunch of stuff, which is slightly better than J5 size 2. And also he has a smaller base. It really is there to just rearrange your stuff if you need to. I mean, hitting the opponent and giving them distracted, nice bonus, but that's not the intent of giving them the action.
Same size base, but just smaller.
Yeah.
One size less. But yeah, it's not enemy, it's everything. Interesting. So 2-inch push, the people are ignoring everyone that's around them because he's there. So
Doing a decent amount of hand pressure for your opponent, unless they just flip high, and then they don't know if they're getting distracted or if you're just moving them around. You're now not engaging this thing, but you're now engaged with Tony. Have fun.
Yeah, and I think that synergizes a lot with both crews too.
Oh,
Either throw them at Tony so they can't fight anyone else, or put them near a ski marker they can't do anything with.
And being able to manipulate your own models makes it a lot more worthwhile to use Accomplice.
Yep. And it allows you to move up your friends and still be safe within Unionized.
Right, or if somebody gets pulled out of position, you can kind of reposition a little bit to get them back in the bubbles.
So, I feel like This could probably boost him up to a cost 5, which totem costs don't really matter, but again, he's still easily the easiest target to kill for action advantage and denying healing, so I don't think your opponent's going to reprioritize other things. He just now has a lot more value the few turns he's around. Although also, if he is alive by turn 4, you've won the game. I don't think I've ever lost a game with Mouse still alive.
Yeah, I like those changes a lot. I actually like Mouse's card as it is. I think I get a lot of value out of him, but I agree with you that he does not play the way that I think he should. And one of the things I like about this game is that most of the models do play the way that they seem like they should play according to the lore, but there's obvious clear exceptions, and I think he's definitely one of them, so I like that. The other thing I was going to suggest is, and this might be too much, but what if he had an ability where he could spend Tony's adrenaline to reduce damage under limited circumstances to try to keep him from just getting sniped?
Within 3 inches of Tony?
Yeah, so like if they're next to each other, maybe once per activation he can do it or something like that. Just to give him
And limit it to be like only 1 adrenaline or something. I could see that.
maybe, yeah.
You should wait until I get to Tony 1.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, Mouse. Just climbing gear would be so fucking nice.
Yeah.
Here we go with the captain now. I guess we're going to like down the line of cost now. So just henchmen and enforcers and then minions, and then Tony 1 is I'm going to end this. Captain, he's going to lose versatile. So I can
wonder why he's in the keyword in the first place.
You don't see why he's in the keyword? The whole point of this change is to make him MNSU, but like it was brought up by Raman that losing Middle of the Storm from a versatile model isn't great. However, at least from what I've seen a lot on discussions, is that 4 Winds Golem is worth 11 more than Captain is worth 10. That's also a 50 millimeter base, so your Middle of the Storm is covering a larger area.
Yeah, definitely.
Like even Snowstorm, who's slow, still covers more area. And they're also bigger, so like line of sight is not going to be blocked as easily.
Yeah,
so,
I don't hire Captain even in keyword, so I agree.
He has a little bit more play with, I think, a rune, because he can initiate an engagement and then a rune can pull him out, finish the fight, while Captain goes off and does other things.
Can also give him another attack with the hammer.
Yeah, there's a good chunk of changes here for Captain. We're removing Middle of the Storm. We're removing Middle of the Storm because we're giving him effectively Middle of the Storm, but it's 6 inches and only bulletproof 1. That's the trade-off. Because if you look at his card, he's kind of meant to be running around doing stuff, and so a lot of the time you either A, are getting benefit out of Middle of the Storm and he's not doing what the rest of his card says he should be doing, or B, he's running around doing his thing and you're not getting the benefit of Middle of the Storm. The 6 inches, one, brings him in line with all the other named models that have auras, and 2, like, they're hardy enough. The extra damage reduction is not going to be as important as having him do better stuff. I think I just called it, like, Storm Calling, so it's a reference to Middle of the Storm, it's just different. Okay, thoughts on that?
I think that makes it more useful. I'd rather have the longer range and less
also,
damage reduction.
Storm Calling would only affect MNSU to technically make it more in line with the keyword.
I'm going to reserve judgment till we see the rest of the card, but I don't think... If you're leaving him at 10 cost, I don't think you need to keyword lock that.
Okay. Well, we can get to the rest of the card. His Grit becomes Grit Aeromancy. What Grit Aeromancy does is that if he is at half or fewer wounds, he can take the Wind Wall action, or the Wind Barrier action, at the start of the turn.
I assume this is Aeromancy, yeah?
Yes.
Because
he's the air. He's the air guy.
Yeah,
he's the wind wizard.
So start of the turn, initiative's flipped, everything goes down.
Yep. So you can place markers, and then because they go away at the end of the turn, to get any use out of his bonus action, it locks you into early activation, which sucks. So this allows you to get it off technically twice. Which we could also possibly reduce the range on it just to be a little bit more fair. I did change it as well. The wind wall markers now only affect enemy models and are severe as well as concealing. because you have a decent amount, you actually have a decent amount of range in the Ironsides crew, and it really sucks when you put up a wind wall to like maybe protect your models, but instead Tony has to burn a soul stone to get a positive on bring it because they're sitting in his damn wind walls.
Yeah, no, I like that change.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
What if you made the whole ability the wind barrier writing and remove that action entirely, so you only do get the one beginning of the turn?
I'm okay with that. I think that's
And then
might
give him a
take up too
different
much real
bonus.
estate on the front of the card. We'll get to that. Okay, that's what he's getting onward
Nice.
That's a good replacement.
because agile doesn't really agile sucks if you are still burning an action to be able to interact, and he currently doesn't have any sort of like extra AP. And wind barrier is situational, so giving him onward allows him to actually make full use of agile.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Also, 18 inches of movement is, I feel like he's got to be one of the fastest things in the game. He's the wind wizard.
Yeah, with Buckaroos.
Okay. I guess not a lot of comments on the few other changes we have. Relic Hammer.
I mean, anything you do to this guy is going to be a benefit to me because I
Yes.
don't use him. So
I've always loved his sculpt. I feel bad that I don't use him nearly as much as I want to.
I
What's up?
agree. I think he should get a front of card ability called Lore Relevant, where it requires that the next story that comes out, he has to show up in it. Because I want to know who he is. Like what the hell? It's never shown up.
You heard my theory behind it, right?
What's that?
You heard my theory behind the captain and his Relic Hammer?
I think so. I don't remember. Though.
Okay. The costs, every Relic Hammer has to have some kind of cost built into it. The thing you have to pay to be able to use the Relic Hammer. The cost for the captain is he had to give up his name.
And his lore relevance.
Sure, and his lore relevance, but like the reason he is the captain and we never gave him his name is currently he doesn't have one. He's not allowed to have a name. He's just the captain, which is a title, not a name.
I like
Right, what was it? Okay, Relic Hammer, we're going to blah, blah. The Mass Trigger becomes reposition.
Foul.
What?
All Relic Hammers have Knock-Aside.
Okay, he'll gain reposition on top of Nakasai.
Okay.
There, I satiated you.
Can we get
Yeah, I
rid
like
of
that 'cause it
Blaze?
plays into the whole mobility theme.
Yep.
Can we get rid of Blaze? Is there a purpose for Blaze? Is there a fire combination in this crew that I've missed somehow?
There-
Simmons.
There is a little bit of fire that is very weird to actually try and plan to use.
Never bothered.
This, I'm pretty sure these were given to him because of Fitzsimmons' bonus action.
Yep.
I've never used it.
Well, we're hopefully fixing that, so he's keeping Blaze at least.
Okay.
How many captains are in this game? Okay. Sorry, I was looking at the card to get it right. Yeah, Nakasai doesn't have any actual movement to it. Huh. Okay, yeah, he gets... What's up, Roman?
Oh, nothing. I was scratching. I was gonna say if all Relic Hammers didn't have Knock-Aside, I would suggest combining the two triggers into pulled here and there. But if all of them have Knock-Aside, they all
of
have
them
Knock-Aside.
Knock-Aside. I'm building a Relic Hammer Outcast Bygone crew, and so
He can make such weird fucking lists. I love it.
I'll croquet.
Okay, lastly, Cyclone. No other model in the game has Cyclone. His is measurably worse than the majority of Shockwaves. Actions. So we're just going to fix that. It's now TN 12, like most Shockwaves. It is now TN Move 13,
Yeah,
like
there it is. That's
most Shockwaves. What else? There's a lot of words here, and I've forgotten how words work. What's up?
Is it still a projectile?
You know, I'm fine with that, really, because he shouldn't be engaging things most of the time. That'll be like the pain point of like, if I want him to be at full capacity, I gotta make sure he's not engaged.
Yeah. Which, with Onward and Agile, sure.
Yeah, right? It's not gonna be that hard. I keep flipping between tabs. Let's see. Hurricane changes the push. Since Hurricane is also, I think, a unique trigger, instead of what it initially did, bumping the TN by 2 to make it actually usable, we're not going to let it go to 15. That's a bit much. Instead, Hurricane will allow you to push them in any direction as opposed to away from the marker.
I was going to suggest that as a change by default, but I like that as part of the trigger. Yeah.
And we just throw away Spread the Embers and it gets lacking out. The burning trigger thing. Ignite? What is Blaze? Thank you. Fuck. Holy shit. I'm forgetting words. We're barely through this. All right. Yeah, Cyclone is more in line with most actions now. Hooray. That's my changes for the captain.
10 out of 10. Much better than he is now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd take the projectile off of it.
I could. I'm
Because
I can
the
see it.
concept of just spinning the hammer around himself and everyone goes flying.
Oh, I forgot to add that. Sorry, there is a third trigger, or this might have to be part of the action. I'm not entirely sure how this all lines up, but what I'm specifically saying is that with some kind of sort of cost, might be a trigger, might be like a forced discard, instead of dropping a shockwave, he uses a wind wall.
Oh,
And drops the
I
wind
like
wall?
that.
Oh, he just uses one, because he can put them out with wind barrier. If we're doing Jeff's thing, where you can only put them out at the start of the game, then maybe not. But if he still has the wind barrier tactical action, drops wind barrier, does cyclone, it's a much fucking larger area now all of a sudden.
God.
I would maybe like make cyclone once per turn then. Just to
Yeah, at that
make
point
it-
probably. But I like that change. That's really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was a wind wall, but in fact it was a hurricane cyclone thing.
Yeah, no, I really like all of that. The only thing I would keep is Middle of the Storm, because as much as I like the expanded range of what you have, is bulletproof is so... Against certain crews, it's amazing. Against other crews, it's like, why is that even written down? And that's just a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really like it. Good change.
Next model, Amina.
Leave her alone. She's
No, I
perfect
don't.
in every way.
Yeah, also didn't need a lot of changes for this. Probably should have put her in blue. But the one thing I wanted is that she gets a grit, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because she has Injured Workers Act, so she would always have it turned on. But this grit allows you to add a suit to your duel if you're targeting a friendly model.
Oh, that's
We can
amazing.
specify 2 attack actions only just for the obey, because I feel like easily getting off fast is a bit too much, but the fact that she has no way to deal damage, I feel like she needs to be really, really good at tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. I think she could use a way to get her obey off easier. It's pretty rare that I use, to be honest. Unless I just have like a ridiculous amount of soul stones because my opponents keep interacting in front of her.
Yeah, I think like not knowing anything of the original intent of the developers, I feel like the thought was that she was going to be making a lot of soul stones with her other ability on the front of her card. Let's her discard if if an enemy model takes an interact. It just didn't pan out that way.
Well, with Tony 2, there's enough card draw that I have, in some circumstances, been able to generate quite a few soul stones, especially in this Gaining Grounds, because there's a lot of interacting. So I could see it working for sure. It definitely didn't used to, and certainly not in Tony 1. It's much harder to have those cards to pitch, but having some other option for it, I think, would be nice.
So pretty much the grit resourceful from the gunsmiths, but only attack actions.
Like, hell, you could just specify you gain a mask to your obey attack when targeting a friendly model. It's what I really want it for, so that's the simplest text, and that way we don't accidentally fuck something up. Like,
Is there a
new
reason to give her a grit when she's automatically activating her own grit?
because it's within the keyword and fluffy.
Why don't you
Yeah.
just give her bully then?
But you could just write that into the obey then, couldn't you?
Could, but then it's no longer technically an obey unless we give it a built-in trigger or something.
Yeah,
Built-in.
that'd be the way you'd have to do it, is keep
That's
it
what I
as
mean.
build
Just
it in.
put the mask in.
Okay, so she always has the mask
That
'Cause
saves
what's
a
the
lot of ink.
difference?
because she can obey enemy models, and I feel like you still need to like have the mask or pay for the mask. Otherwise, a 7-set obey that you don't need the suit for is too good in my book.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty
if
sure.
if you have a grit that builds in the mask,
But only
It
for friendlies.
specifies only for friendlies.
oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that
So not resourceful exactly then. Okay.
Yeah.
So that 7/7 obey is just Hamlet at that point.
yeah. Or it was Zoraida stat 7 obey.
Yeah, and she has it built in.
Yeah, but she doesn't need to be Zoraida's levels of obeyness.
I mean, I would like it if you. I mean, it's
I mean,
one of
if
my
that-
favorites.
At that point, she would actually be a slightly viable henchman
Yeah.
the leader.
I mean, the fact that she can't do damage, period, I feel like
Yeah.
offsets a lot. But the front of her card is so stacked that I don't know that she needs that much more.
I'm going to actually. You know what? Now that I think about it, let's get rid of Sharp Wit. Let's get rid of Sharp Wit because then she can obey something in base contact or like next to her, and then it doesn't have to disengage.
No melee range.
Okay.
Could also it could also be functionally done that way in a trigger. I just realized I don't think I've ever done Sharp Wit unless I was already like completely fucked.
Yeah.
I've used it just to charge into something to hold it up. And it was just like, well, I
Okay,
can
yeah.
do it for free. Why not?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's there because she's a lawyer, and I think a lot of the lawyers have that ability, or am I misremembering that?
Fair.
No, I think you're right.
Because
She
otherwise
only
she
has-
doesn't have I guess impassioned defense is a lawyery thing, but
She only has 4 abilities, and the max is 6. So if you give her grit, then we could do a 6th one that's like, hey, if enemy models obeyed by this model, ignore this model's engagement range.
Yeah, I could see something like that.
Okay. Anything else, or are we moving on?
The only thing I would change, and this is in addition to the changes you made, and this is 100% because it bothers me that it works differently in one Tony than the other, is make Injured Workers Act not specify grid abilities, just saying for the purpose of friendly abilities, because it just makes, again, it makes the whole crew just run smoother. It makes your player who's running them not have their brain going, wait, what, huh, wait, huh, and double checking everything. It's consistent and it works so much better.
I think that's another one
God,
that's
I
just
forgot.
a vestige of like early third
Yeah.
design.
Yep.
I forgot the pain to walk the line was because the burnout trigger, does that check for if they're at half wounds? I mean, no, the draw the card thing, does that check before they move or after they move?
It
Because
checks
if you
after
move
they
them-
move, but
Okay, which
it'll
is
be
good for-
before burnout.
Okay, I didn't mean to talk about burnout. I was just like, do I need them to be near a ski marker to get that card draw off, or do I need them to be pushed into closeness of a ski marker to get the card
No,
draw?
you can throw them at the ski marker and get the card out.
Which is good. I assumed that was how it worked, but I never actually bothered to ask.
That's why I ended the game I played yesterday with 3 extra soul stones that I didn't even. Because
Nice.
She just generated so many. Like I had enough cards in my hand that I was like, I might as well just pitch him for stones. Why not?
Okay, I'm going to take a quick break and run to the bathroom. Y'all can leave if you want.
How often do you get off the target gains adversary MSU trigger off with her?
Not often.
I think I've used that ability twice. The attack. So
It seems to be more common if that obey shoot was built in.
Probably, but like because it's not built in at the moment, I tend to go, do I have a 7 of masks?
Right.
Cool, Howard's getting another attack.
or I'm dropping the scheme that I need to score the point or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you
It's
usually obeying friendly with her then?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And that
But that's
me
not built
personally,
in.
that's just how I use obeys 90% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, obeys are much more viable offensively if the suit is built in. If you have to either have that card or burn the stone and risk it, then it's not as useful offensive.
Yep.
In an edge case, I'm sure it might come up, but then you need the suit, and then you have to use the stone because if you're cheating
Right.
the card, you're not getting both. So
Right.
Yeah. Well, and also just in general, like if I am offensively using obey, I want to have a high card to push it through.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's other things in this crew that I want the high card for.
Got it. Okay. So not very common.
I mean, at
So-
least I think she's the only person hungry for high masks, so that's nice
Yeah.
at least.
Mhm.
Getting rid of Sharp
Okay.
Witch and not having to bother with the adversary MSU on that one wouldn't be a major issue also because you're really getting it off either way from either action.
the other thing that's weird about the adversary thing is that a lot of the models in the crew get positive twists in different ways.
Right.
So it's not like super important, I feel.
I'm never really looking for it.
Yeah.
But Jeff, I want to burn through my deck twice in one round, not just once.
More black jokers.
I think I did the math at one point that like Magic Christmas Land Tony 2 on her activation could burn 40 something cards. Basically, she was getting free attacks from an elemental boxer, and you brought in an extra elemental model, so they're double positive flips.
Mhm.
She's got her innate positive flips. Also, you also put adversary on that model, and that model had hard to wound, so you're flipping an extra card. And you're tying every time. Yeah, obviously Magic Christmas Land, but the idea that it could happen is freaking hilarious. I actually think it went over 50 in that instance.
I can see it.
Anyways, let's move to Fitzsimmons. Yeah, Fitzsimmons. Yeah, Fitzsimmons. Okay, weird boy, because Fitzsimmons is like all front of card, no back of card.
100%.
The poor man.
I do nothing with his AP when I activate in most games.
Like, I got use out of his AP because he was to the cleanup crew. He reliably hit things, so stuff that was on 2 or 1 wounds, I was pretty
Bench model.
easy to finish a model without needing to cheat.
Yeah.
Because the 6 on positive is really damn good. We're going to give him a boost, which includes triggers.
Thank you.
What the Like, I'm not
That's weird.
mad. It's just so silly, because especially if he gets, like, stunned, literally matters not at all, because you're never using his bonus action either.
Yeah,
Stunned is
he's immune
abs-
to stun. It might as well. not
He's
affect
too Irish. Or Scott. I don't... Is Fitzsimmons an Irish or Scottish?
He's definitely Irish.
Okay, just the button chops gave it away. First up, we're removing solidarity.
Why?
Because I genuinely feel it's too much. Like, with all the layered defenses, and also assuming that we're boosting everyone. Additionally, slapping on hard to wound on top of all of that is a bit too much.
I like.
But we're
playing
giving him other
games-
things.
I like playing games in Tony 1 where I don't lose a model the whole game.
Well, they have to be at half wounds for solidarity to matter. It's Tony 2 that gets it right off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. But we're fixing that, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. It's too much. It's too much.
The lad does not have a lot in the front of the card. It's just the two really almost broken stuff, and then protected by you and I want to keep. That's just great. It's good. It's really just felt like the solidarity today was a bit too much. So what are we doing to compensate for that? We're getting rid of Arson 2 and replacing it with Flaming Bottle. If you need to get rid of scheme markers in an MSU crew, gunsmiths do better. They just do.
Isn't Flaming Bottle
So-
only 5 inches? Oh, no, that's the other one. Never mind.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's
the other
12. My one, I like that it ignores line of sight. My one concern is it's a projectile, and he does get locked down. But we'll see what other changes Doug is bringing to the
Yes,
OBA.
okay. Oh yeah, you're aware of this. Let's see. Picket Line gains the blaze trigger, so he can actually use his bonus action with his own fucking actions.
Yeah,
That's shocking.
amazing.
We're giving the sorry, I realized I named this model wrong. One sec, let me look up and make sure. Okay, he is getting getting draw out secrets and delay on his interrogate, just like an investigator.
I like that.
So that's the delayed trigger that gives out slow and draw out secrets scheme marker dropping, which then you can summon a dredge off of if you have Tony too. But yeah, he needs some triggers. Also, we're giving him Chain Gang.
Thank you.
Someone in this crew needs Chain Gang. It's gonna be him. And lastly, the most fun thing, he's gaining Grit Solidarity, which says friendly minion models can take his Flaming Bottle action, but their stat becomes their cost.
That's pretty interesting.
I like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So technically, if you really, really, really need to, you can chuck a Flaming Bottle with a Drudge. You just need like a 10.
Is there a range on that at all? Like within aura, whatever? Or just friendly minions?
We could do like 6. I feel like would be fair.
Is it going to have the blaze
Yeah.
trigger on it still?
On Flaming Bottle? Yeah, I think so. Like, it's already putting out one burning.
Right.
One extra burning by itself is not going to increase the amount of damage they take. So, cumulative it could be, but you're not guaranteed to have those tomes every time. Unless you're bringing in a mech rider for some reason. Yeah.
I was going to suggest bumping Interrogate up to stat 6 because it makes
Oh,
him
it's not?
more
Fuck.
useful from range.
Oh.
And it keeps him, because he's obviously a big target for your opponent, so they want to come tie him up. And being able to be useful from range without having to run in and risk his pretty little hide would be nice.
It's so beautiful. It's
I
too
feel like
beautiful, man.
Interrogate,
It's-
like I've used it, but it tends to not go off because stat 5 is just
Yeah.
a little below average. Plus more card draw works well in Tony 2, so.
Yeah, and if you actually has a thing that can drop a marker next to model, better chance of actually getting that draw. Okay. Any other thoughts on Fitzsimmons?
Nope. I like all that. No notes.
But your audio just got kind of low.
Me?
Yeah. Oh, maybe you just moved away from the mic. Never mind.
Yeah, definitely moved away from the mic. Howard Langston.
My man.
my man.
Can I just throw out the one thing about his card that I think doesn't work at the moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, if I'm understanding the rules correctly, if he is in the aura to always be activating his grit, he actually can't, even if he wants to, he can't pick up an enemy scheme marker with Trail of Gore, which has lost me games. making rewording it so that he can choose to still pick up the scheme marker for Trail of Gore would make him much more useful.
I like that, yeah.
It's a weird thing, and it's not going to come up often, but there was a game where I literally lost it on the last turn. Because
I think this is one of those cases. If I have my TO hat on, I'd be like, no, you can fucking pick it up. That's
You ignore the cost.
Strictly by the wording, you ignore it, so you may not do it.
Cannot do it.
It's not a may ignore the cost. So we should change the grit to you may ignore the cost, so that if
we'd have to change
The
something.
executioners too, I think.
Yeah, I think executioners also have it.
Which, sure.
Well, for changing that, then makes my life slightly easier, but I can't reword it after this point. So, okay, -1 movement to pay for the other stuff. Okay, for one, in Ironsides, he's getting Trail of Gore all the time.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna be using it a little more often for movement.
But I like when his threat range is most of the table.
4 movement is
because he's usually
very
fast
low.
and has Trail of Gore, so it's 4 AP and a push.
Okay.
4 move is really slow.
Next up, we are going to we're gonna change models that don't have this keyword, and that we're changing Vent Steam to have a TN, so we can have triggers. Could have whatever on the other models. It's just 5 models in the game have Vent Steam. Metallurgist and the rest are M&amp. Well, Mecha Chop, I guess. Sorry.
Yep.
So Vent Steam now it has a TN, can be a low TN, but still got a flip for it. I'm fine with that personally. I abuse the ever-loving shit out of this action, and I'm fine with that. His one trigger is going to mean friendly models ignore the concealment, because his concealment is so useful, extremely useful for getting your crew up the board without having them shot to death. But that also means that you can't affect your other models without being at a negative. It's nearly debilitating for other stuff, especially Amina. There's so much dancing I have to do. Is like, when can I activate Vent Steam? Can I just burn a Soulstone with Amina so I can actually hit my models for Obey? All this other crap. We're gonna make it a trigger. And you can give fancier stuff to Mei Fang. Maybe we'll come back and do something like this for the Foundry keyword, because that's slightly low powered. Giving Mei Fang triggers on Vent Steam would be really fucking cool. He's also getting condensation on his executioner class.
Nice.
So that's nice. I like that. But that also gives, you can get your Vent Steam up for technically free. However, you can't declare triggers, so you can't ignore the concealment if you do it that way. Asking questions. And since he only has 1 attack action and really one bonus action, to throw a bone to the Hoffman players who I feel don't bring him a whole ton, he's getting Drop It. So he can feed himself Trail of Gore.
Trail of Gore's enemy scheme marker. So
Drop It is drop an enemy scheme marker.
Right, so you're dropping the enemy scheme marker on the guy he's beating on.
Yep.
And Trail of Gore to beat the guy again, which drop another scheme marker, so you can do it again next turn if the guy's still alive.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, also, it's because it requires a suit, you're getting more power tokens with a Hoffman crew, which means he can feed it to himself more reliably.
So,
especially,
Bandit question, are you fixing Drop It so it can be, put down the proper places?
Sure, why not? This is all theoretical.
What's the problem with Drop It?
Oh, there's pages of problems with that in Bandit. Let's not go into it here.
Okay, fair enough.
Just go to the weird Outcast page and you'll find it eventually. It comes up 3 times a day.
But yeah, the -1 movement is to pay for everything, but that also kind of screws over Hoffman, so we throw him a bone and allow him to feed himself Trail of Gore. Which I think 5 triggers exists on... Wait, no, he only has 3, so that... No, this will be 5.
But you're giving him condensation, so yeah, it'd be 5.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a rule in the game, but again, the backfist card's kind of sparse. I don't see it being that much of a problem.
I've only remembered
you have 6 or 7 on Kojo with upgrades, but that's with upgrades.
Okay. I was assuming Howard was going to be a spicier take, but y'all are just
on board. If it was move 4 still, I'd have a spicier take on that. If you leave it at 5, I'm okay.
No, I'm still sitting at move 4, so you can fight me.
I think I'll fight you on that.
Please, drama.
Is there anything else in the keyword other than Amina's thing that can give you a good push or give him extra?
I mean, he's building in his own Trail of Gore. by not needing to do it. So he's getting 3 walks essentially early, and then you're turning one of those walks into a hit later.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out if there'd be another way to kind of compensate for the reducing his movement.
I mean, mouse. If I get my mouse changes too,
That's true. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
and fits with chain gang. If
That'll
I'm getting...
give you back 2-3 inches. Yeah,
Okay,
and also make him a little bit more predictable, so your opponent doesn't have to worry about every single thing on the table. So I actually kind of like that.
steam fitters. Or does someone have something else?
I'm still just not about it, and I'm also angry at putting a target number on Vent Steam.
What do you care?
You play May Fang and that Thunders.
Oh, she does it. She is a 10 Thunders model, isn't she?
Look at it this way. If Mei Fang gets a target number, that means she can get triggers, which means she gets more constant motion.
Right. But I like having stuff I don't have to bother with.
I mean, so make the target number low.
Yeah.
I don't have to bother with it.
Doug just did this to hurt the 10 Thunders because he hates the 10 Thunders.
Yes.
Yep, that's the secret
We'll
spicy
go-
take.
We'll go with
got
that.
it. Now I understand. Moving on.
Okay, Steam Fitter changes. This is me doing a really ham-fisted attempt at also making them useful in Augmented. I don't know if this works. Gains the ability Field Modifications. This model counts as a construct for the purposes of friendly abilities. When it would gain a power token, this model may instead have a friendly model within 3 inches gain a power token instead.
I like that.
Yep. The fact that they're not constructs is a little awkward in some cases.
Yeah, fixes that. Encase in Steel just removes the tome off the TN, as well as the tome trigger because some comes power up. I don't know if that's, since I didn't write the text, that must exist somewhere in the game already.
I was going to say, I think you just have to build the tome in because I believe that exists elsewhere.
Yeah. Foundry mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. Parson and Metal Gammon.
Have what?
They all have Encase in Steel as well. But
Okay.
for the purpose of what you're doing, I think just building the tome in on the stat gets you what you want anyway.
Okay.
Well, if they count as
I
constructs now, don't they count his target themselves and get it off then?
Yeah.
That doesn't help them a whole ton, but I guess that's good because I'm also removing the grit, or changing the grit. Okay, so this is one of the ones where, like, probably just giving them back tools for the job would make them worth it, but that was too easy of an answer. They're getting Analyze Weakness.
No.
I like it.
Sorry, no? Is that what you said, no?
I said, oh.
Oh, yeah.
As in, oh, my stars and garters.
Uh-huh. Plus, I called this trigger It's Not a Bug. And that is effectively turning off the target's construct characteristic for the rest of the turn.
How does that help?
Specifically for me, that means they're affected by Steam.
Oh,
Yep.
true.
But also there's definitely side benefits like tech stuff. Like if your opponent needs to affect their own construct suddenly, they
Yeah,
can't.
that's very specific to certain matchups, but I think the Vent Steam thing is relevant, sure.
Yeah, there are triggers like that in the game that are weirdly specific. And then we get their grit, which is no longer steel patch. It becomes subject matter expert, which lets them take the analyze weakness action as a bonus.
Ooh.
I like it.
A lot of coding references in there, which I also find hilarious because technically steam fitters are just the code word for mages, but these are actually steam fitters.
So the complaint I was gonna come up with is that similar to Mouse, I don't think they fit the theme of what they're supposed to be because they're just supposed to be mages. But I don't know. You just kind of have to erase their whole card and redo it.
No,
And-
here's what we do.
And also, you put Oxfordian mages on this list, so I feel like we're fine.
Spoilers!
Oh, am I not supposed to spoil that?
Oh, that's fine. It's
Anyone
fine. It's
who
fine.
knows Doug knows he's going that route anyway.
Yeah.
It was a last minute addition, like, hold on, I have ultimate power in this hypothetical. But yeah, no, or down the line, we could get new minions that are just steam fitters. The exact same name, just with quotes around the name, and these are the actual mages.
It'll be a lowercase s.
Oh, you know, I've been like wanting gremlins in the MNSU, right, Roman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was originally calling them rednecks because reference to the origin of the word redneck and Yuns. I have something better, which would like make Kyle buzz with excitement. We're going to call them Tommy Knockers.
Oh, nice. Yes.
It's a great name. Perfect. Okay. They're not in this discussion, though. That's the steam fitters, the union miners, my boys. kind of my boys.
MVP.
I love them. People kind of crap on them. We're making them versatile because we took the versatility away from Captain. All right, Doug, how is that going to work? Well, one, like, false claim is a really good action. That's useful would be really useful for the faction. We're getting them a few other things, though. One, they're going down to move 4, just like Tower.
Why?
Is that your just go-to?
No, because they're gaining tunneling.
Is that what the...
That's the new Mole Man thing. Now, they won't be able to do the Mole Man thing where they allow people to follow them through a marker, but still, like, a slightly less powerful...
Secret passage.
What's the Seamus teleport thing?
Secret passage.
Secret passage. Slightly less powerful secret passage. Because they're miners. They should be able to, like, dig through the ground, right? It shouldn't just be the snake. So suddenly, they can kind of sort of teleport to where they need to drop a bunch of markers, and to make them slightly less overtuned, then we're just reducing the move. Because they're already going to be moving a pretty fucking far distance. Yeah, spicy.
I can see it.
It's great. We're getting rid of Modified Welder, because that already exists in the game. It's a repeated name action. We can't have that. We're giving them an action I'm calling Cave-In. I don't think it actually exists in the game yet. I at least tried to find it on the app and could not. It's a shockwave, which are neat. Shockwaves are cool. Well, like the special rule of being the either damage increases or the TN increases if the shockwave area is touching blocking terrain.
Okay.
Maybe like 1 damage and staggered. That might be a bit too much, but
No, I can see that.
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those changes make them viable as a versatile model for the faction.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there. You want a pseudo secret passage, false claim, versatile, plentiful 3 model for all the arcans.
Problem?
Listen,
Well, like we could nerf them the
it's
other
the one
ways
true
too. Like
faction. Come on.
they could go down to 5 wounds for one.
I
I think
mean,
that'd be relatively fair.
it's already bad enough in Thunders.
The difference is Thunders actually has secret passage,
Right.
and tunneling requires setup for it to work.
Yes. It's still plentiful
In fact,
3.
before you started talking, I was even going to say, even with tunneling, I don't think they need to go down to move 4.
I don't even remember what the setup is for tunneling. I just know that I don't use it because there's too much setup.
That needs to have a terrain marker or a scheme marker within 8 inches, ignoring line of sight. And you jump to that marker.
I think it's the having somebody follow them thing that need more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, an 8-inch place, ignoring line of sight with false claim and 5 inches of movement, that might be too much.
But, again, you need that setup. So you have to have somebody else throwing out the scheme marker. Because while the terrain marker is nice, like, you can't count on it always being there, and you can't use it on
In the
strat.
faction with December and Wildfire.
And Mei Fang or I guess our shadow markers.
Scrap
On shadows they have destructible.
No, that's shadow scrap markers he's got, which are nothing.
Scrap or not.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
That's
but
shadow.
you
The
have
opponent treats them as hazardous, which makes them terrain, but that's with sparks,
Right.
and that's only the opponent.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, making them versatile on the faction with Wildfire, December, and what's his face, who has all the elemental stuff. Yeah.
Sandy can shit on markers
Exactly.
too, yeah.
That's just asking for massive amounts of trouble.
We like trouble. It's the one true faction.
You keep saying that. It's like you're trying to make yourself
Yep.
believe it.
No, I do believe it. I'm trying to make everyone else believe it.
And that's where you're failing, because I'm like, no. This is because if you take their movement down, it doesn't matter. They're just tunneling 8 inches anyway. No one in December wants for a pillar anywhere. They're just popping all over the fucking place.
They might need a
Okay.
cost increase at that.
So
I
what if
think at that point, and I'm torn on this between power versus theme, because my issue there is while they're getting versatile and that's cool, tunneling in their actual keyword is not great. Like it becomes, I think the spot where it does become a problem is in other keywords.
Yeah. In MSU, there's no problem
So
at
I'm
all.
wondering at that point, why not just give them secret passage? It's not as fluffy, which is the
Right.
knock against it.
Mhm.
But at least then it's equivalently good everywhere.
I mean, it's really easy to poop out ski markers at a distance with Tony 2. Slightly harder with Tony 1, but you could also just bring another Union miner and have them walk and false claim.
That's fair. Do a little
Also, I wouldn't say no to Secret Pass. I just did something I felt was slightly more balanced.
I think if you're going to give them Secret Pass, they have to get a cost increase. That seems a little
yeah.
The other thing that makes it weird, just from a mechanical standpoint, is that you're kind of playing against the theme in Tony's crew because they're a bubble crew
Miners.
and having the ability to. I mean, the gameplay theme, the mechanical theme, because being able to just jump across the board, you're now out of all of the bubbles, which is a little weird.
Yeah, but like, think of it this way: her theme means that she can't have schemers. Then,
Yeah, that's the issue with the crew wholesale right now is no one can leave the bubble. You got to have the buddy system.
Yeah.
These guys, if they can, because they are your scheme runners, false claim, cool, you're going to score that 1 point and then they're dead if your opponent knows what they're seeing. And these changes would not change that.
If you had a different tunneling system that wasn't the same as the one for Mole Men, you just had to do scheme markers or something else that's more Tony-centric, like, I don't know. But making them versatile with that ability to interact with three of the factions, three of the keywords in the faction, to just go, that's too much.
what that then? This would almost require a cost increase. But what if an ability where they could treat friendly scheme markers as friendly M&SU models?
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Get rid of Companion, give them that.
Oh yeah, they do have companion. Completely forgot about.
So they treat scheme
I was going to say, I wonder if.
Oh, go ahead.
I wonder if instead of having an ability that, we want to play into this theme of them being miners, and instead of having it give them extra mobility to that kind of dramatic extent, what if it was something more like they bury themselves to protect themselves, so that we avoid that other issue of them getting sniped off the board? Like maybe it's some sort of ability that lets them bury temporarily and pop up relatively close just to kind of be off the board for a while to be hidden.
So again, like Molman, or like they used to be. I forget if they still have it.
Yeah.
So sort of like the Soulstone Miner.
Yeah, kind of, except that not that they would be able to pop up anywhere. Like maybe they bury and place a scheme marker, and then they have to unbury within a range of it or something like that.
Another scheme marker.
It also plays into the theme of the scheme markers, yeah.
Themselves, drop a scheme marker, unbury themselves, add a scheme marker.
You really could have like drill into the earth on them, and just don't give them the earth beneath your feet as the other bonus action. Give it something that requires adjacency to a friendly mow or scheme marker.
That is two abilities. That's much better. I'm much happier with that.
I like it.
Are you still making them versatile?
Yes.
Okay.
I took something away from versatile because I feel like a Union miner fits what should generically be able to go into any faction more than the captain.
Yes, very much so.
Agreed.
Union miners are the heart and soul of the Arcanist in general. And that makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah. Take away versatile, you give a versatile, balanced, as all things should be.
It's still wild to me that there's no M&SU Foundry model and there's no M&SU.
I had that written down in my pre-notes.
We've mentioned a couple times in the podcast. I'm not going to revisit it.
Let's give Railworkers M&SU.
Okay, so
we're done with it.
Stuff we're stealing. Let's go into the stealing round. We're taking Ox Mages.
Yay!
Surprise! We're not taking them. I would perfectly be happy with them being dual keyword. We're gonna get them unionized, which is already like a pretty good buff for them.
I was gonna say, can we make them good too? Because I don't want
I got changes
now.
here. Because we took away the steel patch from the Steam Fitter, we're giving them something called like Mage Shield. That's their grid ability, which allows them to pop shielded onto a friendly model. It's exactly like steel patch. On top of that, we're also giving them something that's the exact same wording as shielded bullets, which lets them burn a shielded to ignore incorporeal and shielded. I think is what it was specifically. This is on Burra.
Yeah.
So some more utility for the friendos. Last but not least, just throwing abilities onto them. This is going to be the Oxfordian method. Callback to 2nd edition. They are +1 AV if they're within 3 inches of another Oxfordian mage.
Nice.
It's 2 stat 5s on a 6 Soulstone model that doesn't really have much else on them.
Yeah, with no bonus action. I feel like even with that ability, I may not, because now you got to take 2 to make them good.
Yep. Their bonus. Is it a bonus action? They're tactical action. Arcane Conduit. Okay, it's a tactical action. That's a lot more useful in Ironsides. Like, we wouldn't necessarily have needed a rune's ability to ignore stun if we had Arcane Conduit. It's technically also a better generalist. Like, that ability just works better in M&SU than it does in Academic Elemental. But that's not a change. That's just saying, hey, would be great for the M&SU keyword.
Can we make it a bonus action?
Are the only ones with it?
Is the what?
Because if it is,
it does not have a bonus.
Yeah, it's just them. It's them. They're the only ones with it. So yeah, fuck it. Bonus section.
Yeah.
Hooray! And lastly, Elemental Bolt. Elemental Transference is a headache to read.
Yes.
Yep.
So instead, they will gain the Infect, Blaze, Strong Winds, and Slow triggers.
All right, I'm on board.
Nice.
100%.
Done.
100%. That is the worst trigger in the entire game. I hate it so much.
I see the purpose behind it, but
it's so clunky and hard to use, though.
You said you're pretty much giving them the grit patch up on top of that?
Steel patch, yeah. So gives a friendly model shielded.
Okay, so they're gonna have
which can be the
arcane shield, the mantra, so that when this model activates, they take the concentration action, and they give.
Yeah, I think it works good because then you're getting the shielded one way in one keyword and one way in the other keyword.
Right.
Because the mantra is not going to work as effectively in MNSU.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after this model or friendly model. So no one concentrates, it still gets it.
They're just healing themselves, though. It can't affect other models. Like, Arcane Shield, like, shielded +1, shielded +2 in Tony Ironsides with the defense on positive flip to know you've got fits, but I still feel like that's not a ton of defenses to try to chew through.
It's not. It's kind of just this happens, then that happens, and that happens again, and this happens. It's like it's like if you're gonna kill a mage, you gotta work at it. That's kind of cool.
I had one other thought. Since they're getting unionized,
yay!
Is it worth it to, instead of giving them unionized, give them a bespoke version that is MNSU or academic?
I want to help academic.
Just friendly models. Just friendly. Instead of friendly MNSU model, it's models that share a keyword this model.
Yeah, there we go. And what I was asking, is it worth doing that, or at that point, do we have too many defenses to chew through?
I don't know, because no one takes these things.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
That's fair.
5-6 positive flips is pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. And that's always my question I get whenever you look at something that's in multiple keywords is like, what does it do in one that it can't do in the other? Why not just make a bespoke thing that says models that share a keyword with this model?
And I think that's the direction that they've been going for sure. Like in the newest book, a lot of the stuff has been abilities that are, if you're in this keyword, do this, or if you're in the other keyword, do this. So it might be interesting. Yeah, because I mean, some of these buffs I think may not matter as much in Sandeep, so it might be worth it to add a little bit there too.
Well, also if they're in Sandeep, just bring 2, then they can unionize each other, which is effectively how the old Ox mages kind of worked, anyways, at least fluff wise. I'm not saying that's a good enough reason, but think about that too.
I just feel like his keyword's a little stacked right now. I don't know if you can afford 12.
He's got so much shit. Who cares? I'm not going to take it away from him, but
right. But what I'm saying is, I feel like it would be useful to have a little bit of a buff to make it worth it to hire one of them, because you're not going to hire 2 of them. Definitely not.
Make them elemental so you can summon them.
How about it?
All he needs now.
Yeah, fine, okay. Okay, the other model that we're stealing, and I'm just not overhauling, but doing some stuff too. We're taking We're not taking, because they're still going to be versatile, but we're going to take Saboteurs.
I think this is the only blue model I've never hired in a game for.
I keep trying it, and I keep thinking that was a bad idea when I do.
I bet.
There's a fairly simple solution to them that I'm just going to fucking ignore. So these are going to be sneak around and be an asshole models, because now we have Union miners being jump around and scheme. They're going to be saboteurs. It's about fucking with your opponent as opposed to scoring yourself. And I don't know if these are enough or too much, but I'm going to boost them to cost 7.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Because I don't have a 7th soulstone model in my keyword.
For completeness sake.
It was honestly the impetus for making them 7 soulstone models, but I'm not sorry. We only have, I think, Envy as... No, Harris is 7.
Yeah, J5, 7.
Okay. J5 and Envy are the only 7 soulstone versatiles. Right, okay, what have we changed? Their move 6. Get in there, be an asshole, get out. They're gaining Herald.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What is Herald?
Start the game, move 6
I think
inches.
6 inches? I thought From the Shadows was maybe a bit too much, but this allows you to, like, get ahead and be, like, there as soon as possible. Also helps with Ironsides because then they can just plop down a marker, move elsewhere, and then you can use that marker to move shit too. Also getting unionized, of course. Now, on the back of the card, knife gains reposition. Built in. 0-inch reach, so like to mitigate that is if you get a charge on someone, you can make sure you're no longer engaged with them after you stab them.
Stab them, pop away.
Yep.
You're going to keep no witnesses as well still, so they're both option built in?
Yeah, why not? Double suits. That exists, right? Somewhere?
It does.
Just all the time.
It did in second at least. It's fine.
No, it still does.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Arson gains fire in the hole. Yeah, which is good. Also, like, because you're an MNSU, now you're suddenly... This is the fun little tech I came up with my own made-up rules changes for these models. If you get fire in the hole, that means you can have a drudge drag the shockwave target extra, like, 3 inches to position it in a better spot before it blows up.
Drudge.
Let me walk through this. Fire in the hole, I think, is only on Lily. It's a mass trigger. Immediately, all friendly models within 3 inches of the shockwave marker are pushed 3 inches away from it. So if you're targeting a shockwave that is next to a drudge, you push the drudge 3 inches, the ski marker goes with the drudge, and now that's blowing up in a different spot.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That's pretty clever.
And blowing the drudge the fuck up.
And they'll be fine.
It's what they're there for. It's fine. Here, carry this bomb.
Carry this bag.
Let's see. Okay, the 2 things are, like, also pretty big. One, they get Remember the Mission. Stealing shit from Burra again.
Love that ability.
Yeah, this is what probably is the most thing that, like, bumps up the cost of them. For those that you don't remember, remember the mission, target a friendly model that has not been targeted by this action. This activation target may take the interact action even if engaged.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. You could probably reduce the stat by, like, 1. Need a 6. Maybe even 2. Need a 7. Less reliable than Burrow, but gives them something to do if they don't have a ski marker to blow up. Now, if they're in the MNSU, we're giving them a grit called Improvise that I really love. Improvise states, this model's arson action may target any marker. So they can blow anything up. And so all of a sudden, like, you would need to have them be at half wounds, which is not the easiest thing to do, but you're blowing up strategically placed ice pillars, blowing up strategically placed pyre markers. That could possibly even just be worked into a trigger as opposed to making it a grit to make it more serviceable to other keywords, as well as making them more worth the 7 soulstone cost. I just thought of that, but
I have one
Are we making
issue.
them tankier?
yes.
I have one issue with any marker. When you combine it with Hoffman 2, when you start detonating pylons.
You mean if you're playing against Hoffman too?
Or with, because you're
Well,
playing Arcanist, you can bring your own pylons and start throwing in the middle of places and then lighting them up.
like, you have other ways to blow him up with his crew, don't you?
He also has ways of like making more.
Oh,
like,
he does, yes.
I don't see that as a problem. There's plenty of other things compared to okay. So there's other things that, like, your standard shockwave, just put this out there. This removes a marker. Okay, there's almost no marker removal in the faction.
Oh, is that?
Like, none.
I did not know that.
Yeah. This is something that Arcanist players have been crying about for many moons at this point.
We have Iruna now, but that's, I think, only on her tactical action. The machete claws require a terrain marker.
Yeah, which a lot of things are, and that's really that is at least in the area that we didn't have marker removal covered before. But yeah, because we're not Bayou. We can't just like look at a marker and sneeze and it's gone. Like giving these guys something like that when they have to be under half anyway. If you're not in Tony, like okay, that's fine. I think.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay. I'm outcast, so markers go away. But same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Give yourselves a solid one.
Are we going to make them tankier if they're going to cost 7? Because right now they'll fold.
Everything on them so far. If you make them tanky, you might have to go to 8 because you're giving them 2 really good abilities.
I'm not saying they should be super tanky, but 5 health, 5/5, and nothing.
Bring the health up to match the number. Yeah, bring them up to 7 health. That's not.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The 7 health disguise, not bad.
Okay, this is where Roman talks about his much simpler, reasonable fix to saboteurs.
So, and I want to start by saying I like the changes you made. The one thing I would go to on top of that is I fucking hate 0-inch engagements if they don't have slippery. Like, give them a 1-inch. It just, again, it makes it so much less finicky. Okay, yeah, I can charge 6 inches, but I have to be exactly on that charge lane to touch you. So yeah, I'd give them whatever is a 1/3/4 damage that has a 0 or has a 1-inch instead of a 0, and I think we're good there. I'm gonna be honest. When you first said you were bringing up to 7, I was like, I don't know how this package turns into a 7 cost, and I like it. And where you ended up, I like. The simple option for this is leave them as versatile as a 5, but give them a Derringer and still a 1-inch engagement so that setup for success actually works. Maybe put like a drop a scheme marker trigger on the Derringer. And change their bonus action to something that they can reliably get off, like a 5-stone minion that needs a suited thing to get their bonus action off. I just, no. Hell, you could... I'm almost wondering if you, like, sabotage their plans as a name is super fluffy, but if the reason it's suited is because it's 6 inches, get rid of it and give them free loot.
Also, funny enough, sabotage your plans is counterproductive to the arson ability anyway, because you're arsoning their enemy scheme marker to blow it up and hurt the people who put it down, or you're changing the scheme marker into your own scheme marker, but then you're not going to blow it up.
Yep.
I mean, you'd have to invent a new ability, but I was almost thinking...
I've been doing that this entire night.
Well, no, that's fair. I was thinking take away the mask in the TN, but make the effect only remove an enemy scheme marker, and then make a trigger with a mask to add it with your own scheme marker.
Yeah, I like that.
So that it's useful if you don't have the suit, and if you have the suit, you get a bonus.
Unless a suit was required there. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. It's only a 5, but still, like, it's just not going to be consistent.
Yeah.
Either that or come up with a way that you get the suit built in, but then, it's going to be way more complicated that way. So.
Okay. We can now move on to Tony 1, our last change to the best keyword of Malifaux.
Bring it on.
Best card and the best keyword.
Okay. Let's see. Simple stuff. We're moving Spit Out a Tooth to the Brass Knuckles. It's a weird placement for that trigger. It's a good trigger, but I'm not sure why it's on Intimidate, which doesn't involve like combat at all.
On Bring It.
Oh, it's on Bring It. Sorry.
Because they're punching her and she's shaking it off. Is the idea?
Doesn't that goes off? The trigger goes off before the action to attack her.
No. Oh wait, no. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, no, I just remembered. I was like, oh yeah, no, the timing is real weird. So she spit the tooth out at the person that's about to punch her.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That is a little weird.
Yeah, so she can't even like heal back damage she just got.
We'll change it to
she just
after resolving.
I think the action is...
problem is that'll be after... Hang on, how would that stack?
Even after resolving, it's still part of the Bring It action, which has to fully resolve before the attack action that is generated.
So yeah, you'd have to call it out as after resolving any attacks generated by this action.
That'd be clunky.
Spit out the tooth.
that I wouldn't say no to that, but I just moved it to a thing which feels like it'd be more useful. I also think that builds it in because it's on Brass Knuckles. Let's see. The Sudden Strike moves to Bring It. Which,
Okay.
I think that
now that I
makes
think
sense.
about it, makes it really
That's
confusing
funny.
because you're suddenly generating 2 actions.
I love that.
for one attack. It does not
You
feel
come to me and punch me, then I punch you back. I'm going to be taking another action.
Well, then you're punching back twice.
It's a double it and pass into the next one. Let's see. Okay, we're removing Caught in the Ring. We're replacing it, but I just wanted to get the drama out there. We're removing Caught in the Ring because I gotta go with my own philosophy in that no, you can't things without any cost shouldn't be in the game. I personally just don't like them, which includes Caught in the Ring. You just can't attack anything else without any cost. So we're going to put a cost on it, and we're going to make it fancier. We're going to call this Taunt. New action, new ability, Taunt. This is what's protecting Mouse. After an enemy model targets a friendly model within 3 inches with an action, this model may discard an adrenaline itself in a base contact with the friendly model and become the new target of the action.
I like it.
Specialized, take that.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's fancier, take the hit. Because it costs the adrenaline, but also allows her to protect a slightly larger range of things. Okay, done with that.
I might suggest making that a place within 1 inch of the targeted model, just so, like, you're not running into, again, very finicky situations of, I'm over here, but I gotta, like, can't quite fit kind of situations.
can't
Yeah, and it
my
also
ass.
then lets
I got
you
it.
kind of play to your advantage a little bit where she wants to be engaging many different opponents if she can. So if you have an inch, then it lets her extend her engagement out a little.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we go with the intimidation changes or the second wind changes, which seems more exciting to y'all?
I'd say work down the card. Go with
Okay.
intimidation.
Intimidation now becomes once per turn. It's not like you were firing it off multiple times anyways. Reason it becomes once per turn is we're adding some very lovely triggers. The first trigger is work as one. Put on a mask, sure. Until the end of turn, friendly models within 6 inches ignore other friendly models for line of sight.
Friendly models within 6 inches ignore other
Okay.
friendly models. Okay.
So now you can start shooting things through Howard's fat ass. But you need to actually get it to go off and have to activate Ironsides, so it's not a full turn worth of things. The other trigger is going to be your fight is with me. Until the end of the turn, enemy models engaging this model are considered to not be engaging any other model.
Ooh, just walk away.
Yeah. The idea is that she is protecting everyone else in the crew so they can do the mission while she just sits and brawls.
Yeah, I like it. It would give me a reason to use intimidation.
Yeah. I think my only concern there is between that. I don't know that we physically have room on the card for that, but fuck it.
Yeah. Well, print bigger cards. She's the best
Tony
girl.
gets,
She
Tony
deserves
gets
some
2
bigger
cards because she's special.
Oh, trust me, like, the changes to second win are also long as hell,
It's
so...
the first edition style
Cool. So we're
2-page
going.
card.
Tony gets Tony gets a. In addition to the tarot card, she gets a one-y, like, booklet card.
she just gets a book.
She's best girl. She
It's also-
deserves the best.
There's also probably ways to rearrange the words on this to make them shorter.
Are you keeping the other 2
first draft
intimidation
and
triggers that are already there, or replacing those with the other 2?
Like, we can toss them, honestly. I don't remember what the hell they do.
If you're adding
Well, sudden strike, you moved up to bring it.
Yeah.
That's right. So
Yeah.
this warm up, which is picking up another adrenal token for every tome.
It's nice, but especially we need to make room on a card.
Okay.
Okay, second wind. Actually, we're removing second wind. Giving her a new thing, especially since we have a rune, which is giving her the extra punch if she really needs it. This is technically the same thing, but also different. Union Strong is a 6-inch range, I guess pulse, would be in this case. Discard an adrenaline token. Target friendly MS model takes a non-bonus action chosen and controlled by this model. Kind of
like
like Tony 2, but again, being a union, it should be less about Tony and more about the group. But we're also adding a trigger that makes it all about Tony. I did not word this correctly, so I'm just going to explain what it does. It effectively lets her spend a second adrenaline token, so we're kind of getting back up to the cost of second wind, that lets her take one of her own actions as if she was in that model's location. Kind of like Rasputina.
Actions through MSU
Effectively
modes.
being like, she is inspiring these people to for just a brief moment fight exactly like Tony Ironsides. In fact, I called the Action Union strong and the trigger strong like Ironsides.
I like it.
So they'd be able to take her attack, but because it's a trigger, they wouldn't be able to get any triggers off of it. So it would be a lot less useful, but still.
Mm-hmm. But also, like, if they're in a better position to do Intimidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Or suddenly Mouse can intimidate.
Yeah, it takes away the ability to like do big spike damage, which doesn't. It would be a bit too much to like explain away as them being so inspired by her, but yeah, it gives you more utility with just a little less, that sacrificing just a little more punch.
Cool.
Those are my 21 changes. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. I think the one thing I would add to that is make good shot my turn not a trigger.
Just make it happen.
Just make it just keep a good shot my turn. Make it something like after resolving a melee action resisted by defense targeting this model, the attacking model suffers 2/3/5 damage, which can't be cheated, and this model gains an adrenaline token. There's been as newer stuff has come out since the beginning of Third Ed, more masters, if it's a thing they use to live, it's not a trigger. It's an ability. Specifically, I think so we don't have more Tony situations of, oh, you have stunned, cool, you melt. And in this case, stunned would still affect her. Half the back of her card would be a ton of triggers. But her defensive option is still, I'm punching you back. You have to either shoot me or like scare me with willpower stuff. Deal.
I'm game. I'm fine with that.
I like a lot of those changes. There's something in my head that's saying there's got to be some way to take the I forget what you called the trigger, but the trigger that says the enemy models engaged by her aren't counted as engaging anybody else. Something in my head's going, there's a way to make that and the new Caught in the Ring change out like into one ability just to make it happen. But I can't think of what that is offhand. But I think doing something like that would save a little space on the back at least.
It would. The reason I split it up is because I felt like it'd be too powerful and was always on.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it was a suit, right? The trigger.
It was a trigger on Intimidate, so it also technically costs an action to do as well.
Maybe it's like it starts as model. It only affects models in base contact, but the trigger expands the range. So like she's still always doing it, but it'll only be 1 or 2 models at most.
Yeah.
Until the trigger goes off, and then she can tie down a whole bubble.
Okay, and not base contact, but like engaging her, which is still how Caught in the Ring works.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying is just make it. It's a master level ability. You're spending adrenaline for it, and I think you could make it to where it's like the model that she protected with that ability is the one that's not considered engaging, but that becomes a little bookkeepy.
Yeah.
Even more words.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time we're done with that, her card art's going to be like her head. It's her head and the fist right next to it.
Be a separate card just for the art, because the rest was all taken up.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the 21 changes?
I think it just as a general thought, the change that I would like to make, irrespective of all those other changes that we're talking about, would be to add something on Bring It, such as a trigger that gives the opponent a weak melee attack to hit her with. Because there are certain models that don't have melee attacks, and it kind of makes them... They're not immune to Bring It, but it makes Bring It much less effective
for
on
Bring
them.
It.
That's why.
Isn't like Bring It doesn't... He wants to punish the things that are brought in by always affecting them with a good shot my turn. Some things won't be able to hit her because they don't have a melee attack.
Which are the perfect targets.
Yeah,
Which means she also doesn't get the adrenaline from it.
Oh.
Right, so what I'm saying is you put in a trigger that gives them a 1, 2, 3 melee attack or something for the purpose.
No, I got this. Put in a trigger that says posing the target gains gunslinger.
Gunfighter? Oh, nice.
Gunfighter. Yeah, gunfighter.
Well, if you give them a weak melee attack, then it could also be used on powerful melee beaters to weaken their melee attack, but, either way.
Oh no, we did Bring It on fucking Justin. Puts gun in your mouth and pulls the trigger. You could just give it a blanket 112 and just call it a day. Take something.
Here's what I'd say. Leave it as is because I think it's up to the Tony player to pull in the things that she would actually be fighting.
That's fair.
But, and Doug, if you said this and I missed it, I'm sorry. Bring It should ignore concealment.
Agreed.
Yeah, I put in a whole bunch of stuff to sort of ignore that as well, like the intimidation trigger and stuff. But at the end of the day, again, Steam is really, really critical to keeping her stuff alive, and in my case, critical to hurting things. But that just makes the rest of her crew have to dance around it, which is kind of hard.
Overall, I thought this was fun. Nice little thought. What's what I'm looking for? Experiment. Yeah, thought experiment.
Yes, I enjoyed the crap out of it. And honestly, I would.
What's up, Jeff? Did go too off the rails.
No,
yeah,
no, I kept it to 2 hours. I'm considering how much I would love to just talk about Ironsides. I felt like I was on top for the most part. But
the next step is now you have to film a battle report where you play this crew that you just designed against someone else and see how it goes.
Oh, wow.
7 hours later.
I'm speaking for the listeners. This is what we want, Doug. Give it to us.
I would need to get like audio of my opponent just like flipping through the entire notebook of changes trying to find what I'm referencing.
But it'd be fun.
So I did this on my favorite keyword, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I would not mind doing it again. So I had the thought ever talk to the other Scoundrels about maybe going down the line, picking other keywords. At the very least, underused because they're just slightly below the curve, but better maybe stuff that's genuinely weaker. I don't care. I just really, really like it. It'll just take me a while to like wrap my head around the crew a bit more, but I feel like it's just a lot. I just enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. So I'm willing to do it if y'all like this sort of content. So let me know.
Yep. And again, to Wyrd, this is not us saying, "Hey, these suck. You should listen to us and do this." This is us saying, "Oh, kind of playing at this is fun, and we hope to see more keyword reworks if they are needed, etc." And Wyrd does a good job. Thank you.
Thing.
No, this is Doug.
Are we going to have our own title for this one, like Weird Thoughts or something like that?
I'll think of something. Do I have the time to make a new thumbnail? That's the big thing. I still don't have a thumbnail.
We'll need new music,
I gotta get on that.
And a new intro tagline, and an exit tagline.
No, Ken McLeod has so few songs. I'll keep it in mind at the very least, but for now, this will just be regular old steam-powered Scoundrels. Do we have anything else to say? Is anything in the M&SE keyword I felt like I haven't addressed or that you want to talk about before we go?
Besides, just throwing M&SU on the rail workers, making things nice and simple there, and have a crossover keyword model. I was thinking about a Last Dragon Nightmare box.
The movie?
The movie. Because is Tony the prettiest? Show enough. Is Tony the baddest? Show enough.
Oh my god, okay.
Oh, man.
Oh, good god. Okay. I now recognize the reference, but I've never actually seen the movie. I gotta fix that, it seems.
Oh.
I'm sorry for not getting your reference initially.
That'll be we do a watch-along Steam-powered Scoundrels for bad 80s blaxploitation kung fu movies.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, but
I've been jockeying for a Muhammad Ali alt for Tony since I've been playing this game. So, but I'll take any alt box for M&SU. So, whatever.
Yeah, just redo Misstep. I would like a mining themed Misstep. Something to bring Howard more in line with the aesthetics of the M&SU.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's enough for me begging. I've been talking about shit I want, quote unquote, this entire episode. So we'll call it good and give you guys the rest of your evening. But thank you for listening, listeners, and thank you for being with me, Jeffrey. And Roman.
Yellow.
And Jeff Dice.
My pleasure.
All right. And as I always say, you guys can join me in if you want. But as I always say, at the very least, fun is always king. And enjoy these made-up models I've made up.
This podcast has been authorized by NAACP.
Okay, thank you. You realize we're in contact with them. All right, I'm gonna go.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Songs used in this production are Villainous Treachery and 5-Card Shuffle. All music is created by Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.